that Pakistan is not Myanmar. You cannot breach Pakistan's sovereignty and get away with it, expect that Pakistan will not retaliate. Why? Because the first war that the two countries fought, India and Pakistan, on Kashmir, it ended on 1st of January 1949 with a military line in place called the ceasefire line. Now, in spite of all the wars that the two countries have fought thereafter, prominently the 65 war and the 1971 war, that military line still remains. On our western sector and their eastern sector, it's only that after the 1971 war, the name changed from ceasefire line to line of control. What this tells us is that in all the wars, Indian military never had a decisive win over the Pakistan military in our western sector, their eastern sector. Otherwise, that military line should have been obliterated. It did not happen. In military terminology, what this means is that despite their smaller army, the Pakistan army being much smaller than the Indian army, the Pakistan military managed to maintain a balance at the operational level of war where a war outcome is determined. I've explained this in my books that I have written. Now, if you want to ignore this historical context also, how could the writer ignore the more recent 2019 Balakot attacks, where for the first time India used air power on sub-conventional operations on terrorist targets. This has never been done between India and Pakistan, and therefore the Pakistan Air Force or the Pakistan military wasn't expecting this. This was done by the Indian Air Force, hitting terrorist target in Balakot surreptitiously at night or early morning. As I said, they weren't expecting that, so they retaliated the next morning with their operation called Operation Swift. And let's see what all they did. There is evidence of it. In broad daylight, they hit targets at a place where there was high density of Indian troops, and yet no casualties on the Indian sides have been reported, which speaks about accuracy of targeting. Then, India lost MiG aircraft. A prisoner of war was taken by Pakistan Wing Commander Abhinandan. This happened because of their better electronic warfare. Let's face these facts. Next, there was a serious case of fratricide where Indian Air Force missile hit our own helicopter with 6 casualties, 6 people who were on board. This talks about confusion, not being prepared for a retaliation, when instead the Indian Air Force should have been expecting the retaliation as soon as possible, and it came. Now, as far as the Indian side saying that a F-16 was shot down, there is no evidence of that, and the Americans also have said, prominent experts in America have said that they have all the F-16 of the Americans with Pakistan Air Force are very much intact. Now, if you want to ignore this fact also, the Balakot, then at least as a writer, the geopolitics, here I come to my second point, geopolitics should not have been underplayed. It should have been understood very clearly, and the geopolitics here is that on 5th of August 2019, when India removed 370 from Jammu and Kashmir, two simultaneous things happened which cannot be ignored or should not have been ignored. The first was that Chinese leadership, right from top till the lower level, everybody said that China supports Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity. They said it publicly. In other words, saying we will stand by Pakistan. This is the first time China said this publicly. Alongside, what we saw happening was that the Shaheen series of exercises, which have been going on since 2012 between the Pakistan Air Force and the PLAF, which is the PLA Air Force, suddenly after 2019 they became advanced exercises, very advanced. So advanced that we saw the evidence of that in Operation Sindoor. What we saw and the world saw was that for the first time Pakistan Air Force showcased a new concept of war, which was at the operational level called multi-domain operation, where in very simple terms what they did was they had the aircraft of the Chinese, the J-10, and they fired the missile PL-15, which is a BVR, beyond visual range missile. It was fired to 143 kilometers beyond visual range without the radar of the J-10 being on, because that would have been a giveaway. When you open the radar of the aircraft, the enemy gets to know where the aircraft is. Instead, the data was fed to the J-10 by the AEWC. That is the aircraft which got the data of the Indian Air Force jets, passed the data to the J-10. Based on that, the missile was released. So this is about a digital ecosystem. It is an entirely different ball game. What this means is two things: that in any next encounter between India and Pakistan, Pakistan Air Force will fight at the operational level of war. No more dogfights, all beyond visual range missiles, and the Pakistan Air Force will be the lead service in war, not the Pakistan Army, unlike the case of India, where the Indian Army still says that we will be the lead service in war with Pakistan. If the pause on Operation Sindoor is lifted, if there is another encounter between India and Pakistan, it will not be a limited one. It cannot be a prolonged one, what this writer is talking about. It will be a short, decisive war. It will be a full-fledged war, but it will be short, decisive.